So thank you, Jody. Josh, I'm also going to go ahead and click right now and re-put in the Pi-Star link. So to everyone, there is a link in the chat room. This is truly just if you want to follow along. This is the Pi-Star system that Josh and the Pilots Corps now use for their RFA. So I think as he goes along his presentation, he may be referring back to some of those things. Again, not required, but if you are strongly interested in looking at applying for one of these pilot grants, in particular the Jumpstart, this could just be something that could be a little useful for you to utilize in this next hour. But with that being said, welcome and thank you for joining us. My name is Carrie Sisk, and I am the Assistant Director of Professional Development. Our professional development core, along with sort of all of our general CTSI and our service manager, Meg Hardman, started to see throughout the summer and even late spring last year that we were probably going to need to host an alternative funding mini series, something to talk about as some of the federal funding grant mechanisms and everything is up in the air. We saw this as a big need. So we were hoping to present a series of presentations that would help be an opportunity for collaboration, for discussion, and sharing the opportunities. This session today, technically our second one. So if you are, if you missed the first one and you want information about it, we were looking at some of the different programs in order to search for grants. Our last one, our third one for the fall series is scheduled for November 6th, and it is going to be a panel discussion with 3 different individuals, some from our West Virginia Osteopathic School of Medicine, a clinician, and then a pre and post award grant administrator from WVU, who are going to share some best tips, recommendations, resources, some challenges as you look at and may be interested in industry funding and other alternative funding options out there outside of the typical NIH federal funding. So we welcome today Joshua Taylor. Joshua Taylor is our Pilots Grant Coordinator. I like to call him, he is our Pilots Guru. He is 100% excited and always willing to work with our investigators to help them try to find money available in order to pursue their research aims and goals. So Josh is really excited to present on today's topic of Beyond the Grant, Exploring Jumpstart as a Strategic Funding Path. One moment, Josh. I'm also going to, here in just a moment, put a link in the chat for a new program that WVU, along with the help of WVCTSI, started called Best Match. It is essentially for NIH for federal funding, but if you haven't heard of it yet, we wanted to make sure that we took this opportunity to share this information with you and to share the contact information as once again, this is a new program, a resource tool that is being launched. So Josh?
Excuse me, I had a question for you, Carrie. So
yes, ma'am.
This future workshop that you talked about where you can explore alternative funding between industry and all, if we haven't registered yet, does that mean that we cannot register? How do you go and register?
Absolutely not. You can still register, and here's what I'll do. I'll also put a link to that registration in the chat in just a moment.
Thank you.
Does that work?
Yes, very much
Right.
appreciated.
Yeah, and if for some reason you lose it or you need any information, either myself, Carrie Sisk, or Jody Saunders, either one of us can definitely help you. But no, it is not too late, and we would love to have more people registered. So thank you.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward in the chat box.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'll go ahead and get rolling. Thank you, Carrie, for the wonderful introduction. So I'm here today to kind of talk about our Jumpstart grant, which is one of the several that CTSI offers. I'm going to go into detail about how you apply for this one, kind of some things to consider, and then leave the floor open for some discussion to talk about this grant and other opportunities and how we can best serve you in this current all-changing environment. So starting off, let me go ahead and click to my slides. I want to talk about CTSI and our mission because that helps inform kind of how you approach a grant with us. So you're funded by the National Institute of General Medical Sciences through the IDEA Research Award. So immediately you're going to say, oh, wait, this is just another form of federal funding, but we're actually kind of a special case. So we are funded through this, but each institute puts up the money for the pilot funds, such as this Jumpstart grant. So what that means, it's kind of insulated from the shutdowns, from the back and forth, because we get funded through them and then we fund from ourselves. So it's not technical federal funding. Another thing about this is since each institute kind of funds itself, if you were to apply with us from, say, Marshall or CAMC or the School of Osteopathic Medicine, you would only go up against grants from your same institute. So you wouldn't be in a School of Osteopathic Medicine going up against WVU or Marshall against WVU. You wouldn't be competing for all that money because all the money exists within the institutes, basically making it so we can encourage research there and support research there without throwing them to the wolves of everybody reviewing everything. But our real goal here is to really establish really good research in West Virginia through support for our grants as well as our other services. So the grants are great. I like to think of them as like the onboard or the exit ramp or on-ramp to a CTSI, because if you get a grant with us, I'm going to talk about a lot of services throughout here. You get access to the services free of charge, including biostat support, help with regulatory services, both helping you submit IRBs as well as getting stuff together. But really, all we're here to do is really increase research capacity to improve the lives and health of West Virginia and Appalachians as a whole. So I talked about what we are. Let's talk about what we focus on. So we have 6 focus areas here: addiction, emerging epidemics, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's disease, chronic lung disease, and cancer. With these are what we target, but if you don't see your particular interest on here, don't worry. These are just what we really like to focus on because these are the issues that are really facing West Virginia in the most capacity right now. If you do fall into one of these areas, it's great. If you don't, it doesn't hurt you. But this is kind of what we tend to aim towards and what we want to see with our grants. So as you're applying for us or thinking of a project, if you fit in one of these areas, we can talk about it more, really hit it on there. And if you don't, we can still figure it out and how to get you to apply. So talking about the grants, good question that always pops up is if you're eligible or not. So the big thing I want to say is even though we are based at WVU, these grants are unlimited to WVU. So if you're joining us from the School of Osteopathic Medicine, Marshall, or CAMC, you are also eligible for these grants. The only thing is you must hold a faculty or faculty equivalent position at one of our partner sites. These partner sites include CAMC, Marshall, School of Osteopathic Medicine, and WVU itself. With Marshall, though, you do have to hold an appointment in the School of Medicine. That's just because of how Marshall's structured and kind of how we have to work with it. If you're a student or a grad student joining us and you have a really great project idea, please reach out to me. We have a lot of students lead the projects that we end up having the PI get involved and be the one that actually applies. But I will say with that, the PI does have to be very involved. They can't just be there in spirit. They have to be there in person, application, being there for all the different parts that we require. But all along this eligibility process, as we go through what's required, we're here to help you every step of the way. I love to talk, as you will see today. So as we go through this, if you have any questions about any of the eligibility or any part of your project, let me know and we will discuss it as long as you want. So we have a couple RFAs coming up today in the future. Jumpstart's the one I'm going to focus on today. As of noon today, it's actually been released on our opportunity site that Carrie sent in the chat earlier. But it's really there as a really good either jumpstart to get you some data to get a project to show that you have preliminary data, you have a feasibility study with this, or to help you complete a manuscript submission. Basically getting that little bits there to either get you started or get you finished. For this, we allow for a budget of up to $10,000 over a 6-month duration. Now, 6-month duration, a lot of people ask when that is, how do we do that? Basically, we try to make it fit best for your schedule. We do have some dates, of course, that you can't go past because we're funded by NIH. We have to be closed by that, but we can talk about that as you apply. But basically, you have that 6 months to complete the project, and we support you throughout the whole. There's no letter of intent required for this. It's just as soon as you get your application together before December 17th, which is going to be the due date for this year, you submit it via our PyStar poll, which I'll go over here in a second, and we review it from there. With this, we are trying to get our projects decided upon and funded sometime in January of the next year. So we're going to try to get a quick turnaround with this. So we get you your money quick, get you going, and get you the support you need. Some other ones, which I'm not going to really focus on today, but I want to put on your radar, are a rapid response. This is going to be towards a very specific emerging health issue. This year, we're going to be doing tick-borne diseases. So if you have any projects that are related to tick-borne diseases in any capacity, you'd be eligible for this $30,000 grant that lasts a year. That doesn't require a letter of intent. And furthermore, one that I find very exciting is our launch grant. This provides proof of concept funding to accelerate the translation of intellectual property. So if you have an IP, invention, something that's patentable, we can help you with support for that up to the tune of $50,000 for 9 months. Big thing with this, though, is we do pre-screen them via letter of intent, and then we have the full application later on. Both the rapid response and launch, we are looking to launch in January of the new year, but Jumpstart, like I said, is released today with a due date of December 17th. So the link in the chat will lead you to our PyStar portal. PyStar is our newish. We've had it for about a year now. Totally online portal that you will use to submit your application, as well as complete reviews if you're reviewing for us, or get your reviews back and decisions back for your application. So PyStar is really nice. You sign in, create an account, and you can save your progress to different parts. You can access all of our RFAs, see the timelines, see the deadlines, everything that you would do for the grant submission process will take place in here. So I'm going to jump out real quick, just kind of go over that briefly before coming back to here. Go ahead and open it. Internet's being a little slow. Go ahead and share this now. Lets me. No. So right here we have our PyStar portal. So everything lives in here. You will have to create an account. Oops, sending another little page. My Zoom bar is blocking my pages for this. But yeah, so when you sign in, the Opportunities tab will take you to what funding opportunities we currently have available. So don't look down to the bottom. Those are the ones we have coming up. But right here, if you were to apply with us, all you would need to do is just go to this thing, hit Learn More and Apply, and it will take you right to our RFA for the Jumpstart. If you're interested in seeing what's all involved, you just hit Download Solicitation. That's all the fun stuff, all the required paperwork, what we need, so on and so forth. And then when you're ready to apply, you would apply now. And if you have any questions for me, which I'm sure will arise, you just hit this little Contact Manager button, and it will send an email directly to me. So everything that you need for your RFA, everything you need to do to apply with us just lives in the site. I would save the PyStar Opportunities, and just anytime you come back to it, that's anytime you want to have a question, anything you need, just go through here. You can also see our deadline here, December 17th at midnight. Go ahead and jump back over to our slides. PyStar is a fun thing, but it sometimes is a little weird. So if you do run into any issues, please let me know. I have, through lots of trial and error, have figured out this site like the back of my hand. So I can help you with most anything. So let's go ahead and talk about what you kind of need to prepare for an application with us. So no matter if it's Jumpstart, Launch, anything, you will need these same materials for every project that goes through CTSI. The first one, and I always say do this as quick as possible because I often find it's the hardest thing to get together, is biosketches for your PI, so whoever's leading the project, and any key personnel on it. With these, we limit them to 5 pages per biosketch using the NIH non-fellowship format. So key personnel here is a term that a lot of definitions get thrown around, but we really like to keep it as anybody who, if they were to be removed from the project, the entire project would fall apart. So you don't need a biosketch for, say, a student that's just doing data collection, but if you have a collaborator that's going to be processing half your samples, do include a biosketch of them. This helps build the case for your project to have the correct expertise, having the full team you need, so on and so forth. So save your work with some of the lesser parts of it, but do include everyone that's going to be an absolute key part of the project. You will need city certificates, so city, the training resource for anybody that's going to be doing any of the project stuff. If you're going to be doing stuff with animal work, you need city certificates for animal work. If you're going to be doing anything with human data, you need city certificates for human data and human project stuff. This is sometimes a point of like who needs what. So if you have any questions, let me know. I do, before every application, clear out about a week or two ahead to answer all these little questions, and city certificates are one that pop up. Now, letter of support. So we do require a letter of support from the chair or center director, just someone who's a supervisor above you, indicating that they are saving time for your research endeavor. This is really important because it makes sure that if we fund you, you're going to have time to complete the project. It doesn't need to be super fancy or anything, just making sure they're aware of it, but we do require it just to protect that time and make sure you actually can complete the project you suggest. Another thing that's really nice is we offer consultations ahead of our application for any bird services or biostats core. If you want to get a power analysis or you want to make sure that the population you're looking for exists, in consultation with our services, I can help you with that. And then include a letter that says, hey, yeah, we've looked at this. We think it's great. So it's good to go. Additionally, while it's not required, if you're going to be working with any collaborators that are not here at the university or not usually in your wheelhouse, you can get a letter of support from them saying, hey, yeah, we're totally on board with this, to show reviewers that, like, hey, this project's been thought out from every step of the way. It's got support for every step they want to do. Here's how we know, and it'd go a long way to improving your score. There's also a table in the RFA that goes over all this in detail, such as how to approach it, your limits for everything, so on and so forth. But these are the big things that are required for all projects. These things here are only as needed. So if you're not going to be doing any of these things, you don't really need to include them. First off, if you're not going to be using human subjects, don't need to worry about a human subjects protection section. But if you are using human subjects, this section goes into detail, and I'll go over it here in a second about whether you're a clinical trial or not. So big thing with Jumpstart that's a little different from our other grants is that we do not allow NIH-defined clinical trials. That's just because it's a 6-month project. We really don't have time for the human recruitment, the whole regulatory side, so on and so forth. We do allow human subject projects just as long as they are not clinical trials. So it's a weird kind of difference. The slide I have up next will kind of show how we make that determination to kind of help you along there. If you plan to use any animal work, there's a vertebrate animal section to make sure they're taken care of ethically. And then we also need proof of IACUC submission ahead of the application to make sure you're thinking of that ahead of time. So as soon as you get your funding decision, you can hit the ground running. Big thing with this is IRB and IACUC protocol titles should now match. If you've applied with us in the past or worked with us before, that's not been such a hard requirement. But going forward, that is a very strict, we need those things to match. So if NIH ever asks us, hey, what's this project doing? Is it fully regulatory? Is everything taken care of? We can look at both of them and be like, yes, this links to this, boom, back and forth. And then for our larger grants, not necessarily Jumpstart, we do like to see anybody that's an early stage investigator, so within 10 years of the terminal degree, have a mentor on the project. This is just to guarantee that if you have any questions that may come just from experience, you have someone there to ask directly on the project to kind of give you a steady hand in that. For Jumpstart, it's not as necessary, but if you'd like to include it as well, we do. We'd like to see that, and it goes a long way to show reviewers that if you don't have this like enormous resume, you have someone on there that does have the experience, does have the work background to support the project. Now, the big thing with human subjects, and as we said, with clinical trials, the first 4 questions on here, questions 1A through 1D, or sorry, 1.4A through 1.4D, are what we use to determine if it's a clinical trial. So as you're filling this out, as you're looking through your application, really pay attention to these. And if you answer no to any of these at any point, you are not a clinical trial, you're just human subjects. But if you say yes to all 4, you are a clinical trial and therefore not eligible for this Jumpstart grant. So just really focus on these. If you'd like to meet to go over them together, I can help you out with that. We have our team here that can help you with that as well. Just really making sure that you understand these directly. And these are based off the NIH definition. So if you've had work with that before, it'll look very familiar. Then as you go through this, you'll have to fill out different parts. All projects have to do the 2.1 to 3.2. These slides will be available afterwards. I know this is a lot of information to kind of help you through this. And again, if you ever want to meet with me as you go over it, I have plenty of, this is my job and I love to help out. So I will gladly go over every bit with you. Now, a big thing that tends to cause some delay with applications is our idea lab. Hope I see a question.
Oh, actually, I had a question. I didn't put it, but I had a question. This is Piyali here.
Yes, how's it going?
Good, good. It's great to see you, Joshua. Like for the open launch, we had to set up a meeting with you where we talk about our grant and the scope of the grant. So for the Jumpstart also, is this a requirement or is it a recommendation? And And when should
Yep,
we start sending you that email? Thank
Yeah,
you.
so I was gonna mention that at the end. I do like to talk to everybody about the grant just to make sure we're on the same page of the scope, kind of making sure it fits this specific funding thing. So please do email me ahead of your submission anytime. Like I said, Jumpstart has been released today. It's due December 17th. So anytime between now and then, we can
December
schedule a
17th,
meeting.
that's a good thing.
Yep. And we can talk. These meetings usually take less than 30 minutes for your schedule. They're really just to make sure everything's online and make sure you're aware of like all the different little parts, such as the clinical trial part and the part I'm about to talk about, the idea lab.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So as the idea lab is something that tends to catch people a little up. So the idea lab is a requirement for anybody doing anything with human subjects. This applies also to anyone using PHI, so protected health information. What this is a panel of experts, and I always warn people that will politely tear your project apart because they want to see it become the best project it can be. The thing that always is the problem with this, though, is that we do have a lot of projects, and every human subject is required to present at this ahead of the full proposal date. So just keep this in mind as you're doing it. It's not a hard thing. It doesn't usually take that long, but it is required. And with as many projects, we only have so many slots, so you tend to run out of time. So if you're human subjects and you're worried about this, reach out to me as soon as possible, get it done, and we can make sure you're fully in compliance ahead of our full application. And I've put the contact information on Kylie Smith here. She is our contact for setting it up. Do also email me as well, and I can help you help speed that process along because there are, like I said, a lot of people. One person tends to create some backups. Now, the biggest thing with this budget, it is a $10,000 budget, so you kind of have to be a little bit more strategic with how you do it. So first off, we do allow a lot of things, including non-faculty personnel salary, material, supplies, equipment, travel within reason, publication within reason, and conference within reason. I say within reason for all these because we do limit these to 1,000 for publications and 2,000 total for travel. This just makes sure you're not using the grant just for travel and actually using it for research purposes. With publications and conference travel, there are some concerns about it being after your grant ends. We can talk about that as a case-by-case basis to kind of make sure we figure it out and make sure you're using your money strategically so you're not trying to spend money on a conference a year after your grant ends or trying to publish 2 years after your grant ends. Do note that the NIH public access policy has changed and we are covered by that. So publications is a little weird. As we get there and you're worried about publications, we'll have to talk about that because that's a whole hour conversation I could have on that. Some big things that are not allowable are faculty salary on the Jumpstart. We cannot pay your salary on the Jumpstart, unfortunately. It's just too small. Indirect cost, bridge funding, and then the really big one here, student stipends. So you are allowed to use students on your project. You just have to pay them hourly. We cannot pay them a bulk sum. We cannot pay them a stipend. They have to be paid hourly, and we need their hourly rate ahead of the application or ahead of the start of your project period. This just makes sure we're in compliance with NIH because they have a weird rule about that. So that's a big thing, and I will look at your budget before you submit and make sure that that's correct. Otherwise, I will make you do it again, just to make sure we're all on the same page. But a lot of the budget things, we're pretty hands-off with it. We tend to just give you a funding string and let you go. But I will check up in with you every so often about where your budget stands, what to expect, and so on and so forth. So one thing we do offer are funding priorities, and I talked about our focus areas earlier, but these are some other things that we tend to focus on that if you have them, great. If you don't have them, it doesn't hurt you. So if you're an early stage investigator or clinician-led project, we give you a little deduction. We score on the scale of 1 to 9 on the NIH scale, with 1 being the best, 9 being the worst. It's like golf. So if you get an ESI, you get a 0.25 deduction. If you have a project that uses our PBRN, our practice-based research network, or any of our community engagement strategies, you get a 0.25 off, Partner Institute, and then any of our research priorities. So you can get multiple of these up to 1 point off your entire score, which is pretty substantial. But if you don't have these, totally fine. You just don't get the deduction and you still get scored the same way. Nothing gets taken off. It's just an incentive for these projects because we identify these as certain problem areas in West Virginia and in the CTSI network. I'm really big about maximizing these deductions. So if you think you fit any of these, we can talk about this in our meeting and make sure we're on the same page and fit you in there correctly. Now, I always like to give, oh, I see a hand. Yep.
Yes, it's Piali again. I'm sorry to be a nuisance,
No,
but
hey, this is a discussion.
it's in the open launch grant, which I applied earlier.
Mhm.
If you engage a medical student, there was some extra funds or, some leeway. Is the Jumpstart similar, or that criteria doesn't apply?
Nope. Unfortunately for this one, we do not offer the extra incentive just because it is a smaller grant overall. We do love to see medical students and students in general involved, but we do not add that incentive here just because it's a $10,000 grant.
So we can list the student, even if we are paying them from other sources, we can say no compensation requested. Would that be an okay? Okay,
Yes, yeah, we would love to see that, and I'm sure reviewers would love to see it to
right,
show that you are engaging the population, students in the project itself.
right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I always like to end these discussions with kind of what to look for with a reviewer, kind of to prepare you to with applications of any type. You're always writing to what the reviewers to expect to see. So what reviewers with us look for and what we tell them to kind of really focus on in their reviews are future direction. We want to see that this grant has legs beyond just the simple project, whether that be funding, whether that be a publication, finishing up a project, being a feasibility study. I always recommend in your approach to talk about that. Show that you are thinking beyond just the next 6 months. Feasibility is very important because feasibility is making sure that can actually happen. If you work with any other services, that letter of support I mentioned before is big here. Publication track record is also nice to see because it shows that you do have success in publishing. But if you don't, that's totally fine as well. These are just little bonuses. We have a lot of people who their first project is a jumpstart, and that's what it's made for. It's made for these first projects, these jump starting your next research thing, so on and so forth. I'm going to move my windows because I can't see what else I wrote here. The appropriate mentors, if you have a mentor in your project, making sure it's someone that is well versed in your field is good. Don't just get another mentor and another thing just because it looks good. Make sure that they can actually mentor you in the different parts. We have a wonderful MDP mentorship development program with our PD core that I'm sure would be helpful for mentors in general, so on and so forth. And then a big one is grantmanship. Make sure it's readable. If reviewers have a good time going through your application, they tend to be a little bit nicer in the reviews. If you make them search for stuff, if you write in font that's weird, if you can't, if it's a hard to read grant, it's going to be hard to review, and they're not going to review it as highly. So just make sure it looks good. It's got all the parts, and it's easy to navigate, and that goes a long way to making sure you're reviewed positively. But yeah, so here's all of our services that we offer. I mentioned consultation. All of these would be free to you if you were to get a grant with us. And they would also help you with what comes next. So this is titled Jumpstart, What Comes Next After the Funding. A lot of these services, our professional development, as well as our external proposal development, are specifically made for helping you take a grant or helping you take an idea that you've worked with and take it to the next step. So as you work through this, as you get towards the end of your grant and any of these look interesting to you, we can talk about it and get you those next things. What I really love about CTSI grants is that you get a whole support network with your grants, pretty much. Most grants, you just get the award, you get the money, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
CTSI opens you up to this world of everything.
Hey,
So
keep
with
close
this,
eye on your
we can
cells,
help.
our iOS e-cells.
We can help you out and get you a full support for any step of your journey. And then I'm going to send these out as well. We have a lot of resources to help you out. Lots of forms and templates that you'll use in this whole application. Become a member, as a membership is required to apply for a grant. It's just a fancy newsletter. I promise we don't blow up your emails. And you also get all of our other stuff, such as these fax meetings, so on and so forth. We also have more detailed looks at these grants, as well as how to kind of talk about applying on our YouTube series. And then the PI Academy itself has programs to help you with your development of yourself and your project, as well as presentations of other grants. So that brings me to the end of my stuff. I just wanted to give the rest of the time for discussion, questions, and such. Here is my contact information. And I've also included Meg Hardman, who is a research service manager, who just also happened to be the pilot coordinator before me, who's very well versed in all of this, as well as all our other services, if you have any questions. But yeah, thank you all for having me, and please let me know if you have any questions. Oh, Carrie, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Well, I was just saying, I think we'll take another minute, a brief pause if there are any other questions or comments that any of us, Josh, and there are a lot of CTSI staff on here today. So if you know Josh is unable to answer it, there may be somebody on here who can tap on and answer. Otherwise, we will give you a little bit of your noon lunch hour back, and we appreciate everyone's attendance today. Once again, be on the lookout. There is a third session, going to be a really exciting panel discussion on November 6th for our third part of this fall series. And then lots of other, opportunities coming up in CTSI and our professional development core for other ways to grow and to learn more about some of the changes taking place. So our FACS program, as well as our mentorship development program, as well as we continue to host with Dr. Joan Lakoski a number of different grant writing groups. So if anybody is interested in any of those, we are always happy and here to help provide the information for the resources and how to get registered. So with that being said, thank you, Josh. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And we'll stay on. Josh and I will stay on at least for a couple minutes if there are any questions as people leave.